Greetings, this is John Meakin here with a webcast for tomorrow's world. At the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month each and every year, 2 minutes silence is observed all over the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth in memory of those who lost their lives in the Great War of 1914-18. For as many as are able, normal life is suspended. Life pauses for a few precious moments of contemplation, respect and thankfulness for those who died in battle. 2 days before this, on Sunday, November 9th, a moving and solemn service of remembrance for all those who have died in conflict since World War I took place at the Cenotaph in Whitehall, central London. This year's observance was more poignant than most, for it marked the 100th anniversary of World War I. To highlight the occasion, a spectacular red carpet of ceramic poppies, one for each of more than 888,000 British and colonial military deaths, was progressively created to cover the moat surrounding the Tower of London. This year also marked the 70th anniversary of D-Day, which began the liberation of Europe in World War II. The Cenotaph observance was attended by the royal family, led by the Queen, politicians, representatives of religious organisations, the armed services and Commonwealth nations from around the world. Those who had fallen in battle were honoured, and wreaths of poppies were laid at the memorial steps. This was then followed by a march past of 10,000 servicemen, representatives of military organisations and charities, all brought together in gratitude and remembrance. And surely this is very much the point. This was not a military parade. This was not a victory celebration, but rather an act of national remembrance to honour the memory of those who had died in service to their country. By one estimate, 33 million members of the armed forces and 48 million civilians lost their lives in the First and the Second World War. And thousands, of course, have died in conflicts since. We should never forget their sacrifice nor the reasons for it. At the beginning of the 20th century, with the Great War still a few years away, a young 26-year-old Winston Churchill, in his first speech as a Member of Parliament, decried the almost carefree attitudes of those he saw who were cheerfully setting out hoping for a good war. He knew it would be anything but. So here are some of his prophetic words. He said, "We must not regard war with a modern power as a kind of a game. A European war," he said, "cannot be anything but a cruel, heart-rending struggle, which if we are ever to enjoy the bitter fruits of victory, must demand, perhaps for several years, the whole manhood of the nation, the entire suspension of peaceful industries, and the concentrating to one end of every vital energy in the community." And so, as we know, the Great War proved to be. We are today all too familiar with the years of stalemate in the stinking, mud-filled, hellish trenches of the Western Front. So many men were killed that fully 50% of all the bodies were never recovered, but sank anonymously into the filthy sea of mud. Each year we collectively remember them with thankfulness, along with those who have died since, because without their sacrifice the world would be a very different place, with different values, different standards and different freedoms, or the lack of them, than we enjoy today. But this annual act of sombre remembrance must be so much more. Is it not also to ponder the causes of war, so that we can learn the lesson and never have to go through the likes of World War I and II again? So, where do wars and fights come from? Well, the Bible gives us a simple answer in the book of James, chapter 4, verses 1 to 3. "Do they not come from your desires for pleasure that war in your members? You lust and you do not have. You murmur and covet and cannot obtain. You fight and you war, yet you do not have because you do not ask. You ask and do not receive, because you ask amiss, that you may spend it on your pleasures. For a more in-depth look at what causes wars and how they will one day end, please check out the cover article of the July-August issue of Tomorrow's World magazine entitled The End of War. You'll find this article at tomorrowsworld.org, along with videos and all kinds of other material on biblical and news topics. Please also visit us on Facebook to access this same information. Thank you for watching.